So my name is Hannah. My username on Neopets is _Yazzie_, and I did not know about the birth control Yasmin when I made this, so it was really weird when I found that out. And where'd the slide go? And last year my account was frozen when I gave this panel, and I told everybody that, and I was very sad, and I have since gotten my account unfrozen. It's been exciting. Yeah! I have a long email trail. It was like 5 emails. My friend told me I had to make a side account to message staff, but then I had to email them. But it's all been taken care of. So I joined in 2002 when a couple of my friends played, and I did a lot of role play with people on the internet and art trades, and I did a Neopets Furry cosplay group at KatsuCon in 2015, and that was one of my cosplay favorite things ever. I was in that last year, but it's 2 a.m., so no. I am probably a furry, kind of. It's complicated. Thank you. I don't have plans to make a fursuit, but I really like drawing myself as a cat person, a little bit more often, and not always in G-rated situations. So that's a lot to say. But yeah, so I am not I'm not an active part of the furry fandom. So if you were hoping for somebody that's hardcore furry, I am not that person. I'm a demi-furry. I am sorry, but I will try and provide you as much as I can.
As much furriness as possible. Okay.
Thank you.
So we're still here. Okay, so I'm Michaela, also known back in the day as Catshire529. I actually joined back in 2004 because of the McDonald's promotion they were running with all the Happy Meal toys. And I was like, what is this? And then next thing you know, I got an account, and then my life went downhill from there. But we'll go from that. I basically owe my entire identity to Neopets. I actually met one of my best friends from via
We
Neopets.
want Nicole to stand up right now.
Yeah. So I was
applaud Nicole.
Whoa. Yeah. So I was in middle school, and I randomly came up to her at the end of the day. We had never spoken before, and I was like, do you play Neopets? You look like somebody that would have a Neopets account. And lo and behold, she did. I was unfortunately one of the people that had dial-up, so I couldn't use the money tree or do anything like that. And I was total chat player trash. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
All right, so our outline of the panel is we're going to go over what is Neopets briefly for those who don't know, short history, lies, because this is about lies and being a furry, and the fall and rise of Neopets, or the reverse of that. Fandom culture and how Neopets has become more furry over time, what went wrong in the site's management to make it the weird wasteland it is today if you log in. It's a sad place. And then... Yeah, it's very weird. I try to play games and they don't load, and but it's cool that I can buy stuff for really cheap, kind of. Yeah, then we're gonna go through games, some other slides, audience questions, and then we're gonna all go to sleep or keep partying. Y'all do you. It is Friday.
Next slide. Oh.
Oh, it's Saturday now. That's true.
When?
Click on it.
Oh.
All right, so if you look up Neopets on Wikipedia, it's weird because it tells you that Codestone redirects here first of all. So it's going to tell you that it's a virtual pet site, and it doesn't talk much about, I don't know, it's kind of like a soulless Wikipedia article, and we looked on Urban Dictionary to see if there was a better definition, and I didn't like it, so I actually deleted that slide since last year. But there have been a couple of really cool think pieces about Neopets circulating online recently. A lot of them are kind of clickbait, I logged into Neopets after 10 years and you won't believe what it's like, and it's not really exciting. But there's this one article called Neopets Inside Look at Early 2000s Internet Girl Culture, and the base of it, this article is talking about how it formed a, quote, community of storytellers, artists, reporters, designers, and poets emerged alongside an economy that fed off of arts collaborators. One thing that's also interesting if you get into reading about Neopets, especially with its niche within, compared to other online sites, is that it is a SVE, a shared virtual economy. So it's an immersive, environment, sorry. An immersive digital space in which players interact with the virtual worlds as well as other players' characters. And it's different than massive multiplayer online games like RuneScape or WoW because there's no set narrative. It's a lot looser for going through.
All right.
It could be. So we have 2 videos we're going to show through this panel. This is a 5-minute video about the history of Neopets that is really solid. It doesn't talk about Scientology, but that's a cool thing to research. If you guys are interested in Neopets and cults, it was briefly owned by Scientologists. So we're going to watch this video.
Let's cover the history of the online game Neopets. The year is 1997. Adam Powell, a student at Nottingham University, thinks about making a virtual pet game. 2 years later, he shares this idea with Donna Williams and they start programming. On November 15th, 1999, Neopets.com launches. By December, Neopets logs 600,000 page views a day. Pets like the Jib Jib can explore the world of Neopia all in your browser. Doug Doring, an American businessman, buys a majority share of Neopets a month later. The team of what is now Neopets Incorporated brings on lawyers, and the site is scrubbed of copyright infringing material. This means goodbye to the Macy Gray and Bruce Forsyth pets. The Jib Jib becomes the Jub Jub. The Loop and Elefante species are released on January 13th. New species are regularly released until 2006. The game implements advertising through a method called immersive advertising, where the ads are integrated into game content. It's kind of controversial. Other core features of the site developed in the first year are a bank, safety deposit box, beauty contest, and fighting arena. The company relocates to America but retains British influence, ruining a generation for spelling things like gray and fairy. More pets and features are added daily. By June 29th, there are 1 million Neopets accounts, meaning the time is finally right for Dr. Sloth to kidnap the Space Fairy. The VirtuePets plot, a site-wide event that lasted 9 days in August 2000, was the first plot the Neopets team would orchestrate. There will be more than 30 plots, and Dr. Sloth remains a pop culture icon. By October 2000, there are 5 million Neopets all trying to figure out what species Dr. Sloth is. Starting November 23rd, they can discuss him while following their secret laboratory map to get zapped once a day. The library can transform your pet into almost any color, species, and sex. Happy first birthday, Neopets. On December 19th, there are 5 million accounts. The year is now 2001. The Neopian Pound opens. There are 10 million Neopets. Inventories cap out at 50 items. Tyranny is discovered, which means free omelet once a day for all chomby kind. Dr. Sloth has another plot, and when it's over in July, there are 20 million Neopets. NeoQuest launches, which is perfect for if you want to reload web pages all day for several consecutive days. On to 2002. The baby paintbrush now exists, and every 13-year-old ever puts it to the top of their wish list. The Drake is introduced, becoming the second item on that wish list. Meridel and the Darien Citadel go to war. Bucci starts prowling the site in 2003 with his baby zapping ray. The Neo boards replace the Neo chat, so everyone can discuss how perfect the new Yuzuki girl and Yuzuki boy pet colors are. The Neopets magazine, a real-life physical item, is published. On the topic of real-life physical things, you can get Neopets trading cards, published by Wizards of the Coast. It's 2004 and Neopets plushies are McDonald's Happy Meals. The royal color is released, superseding only the baby paintbrush in desirability. Especially lucky secret laboratory zaps will turn a royal girl or royal boy painted Neopet into the opposite sex. The Curse of Morocco plot is almost enough to distract from Viacom purchasing Neopets in June 2005. Neopets is purchased for $160 million. According to Neopets in a Bloomberg News article, 39% of the site's users are younger than 13, and 40% are between 13 and 17 years old. And the site gets more than 5 billion page views a month. Things are going well at Viacom. Avatar: The Last Airbender premieres this year. Neopets are everywhere. You can purchase plushies at Limited 2 and Target. The Darkest Fairy PlayStation 2 game releases. The next game release is The Wand of Wishing in 2006. Altador is released. Lutori's happen, and then Lutori Island kind of happens, but only to some mobile users, and it's never brought back ever again. The Haunted Woods wins the first Altador Cup, and the Chef Bonju avatar is technically released. The method of unlocking that avatar isn't discovered for 3 years. It's 2007 and you are not prepared. No one is. The entire website layout is overhauled and every pet species has their art revamped. You can now dress up your Neopets. This is a largely unpopular move. Neovision kind of launches, and then the Neocash Mall opens. The Neopian Pound closes for a feature overhaul. The Pound reopens in 2008 with a transfer feature, single-handedly validating the pet transfer economy. KeyQuest, an online board game, launches. 2009 was a slow year. Some maps got revamped, and Neovision was finally shut down, while Tara is now a place. Habitarium enters testing in 2010, and some more Neopets colors are released. Fairyland crashes to the ground, and many maps are updated. The Fairy Caverns are located in 2011. Neopet hits 1 trillion page views. Treasure Keepers enters mobile testing in August and is discontinued in December. Some users find the Forgotten Shore. 2012 gives premium users the ability to own up to 5 Neopets at once. The Color Stealthy is released and the Battledom is closed for renovations. The new Battle Dome opens in 2013. The War for the Obelisk breaks out and becomes a bi-weekly event. In February 2014, owner of Neopets transfers from Viacom to Jumpstart. Habitarium is removed from the site, ending 4 years of manufacturing Neopoints. A new species, the Vandegeyer, becomes the first new species of Neopets since 2006. Pets now give their owners a special cupcake on their birthday. The app, Ghoul Catchers, is released. Trudy's Surprise goes live because the economy doesn't really matter anyways. On March 6, 2015, a majority of the remaining Neopets team staff is laid off. During a server transition in June, the Neopet filters go down for a weekend. Naughty language runs rampant. On November 9th, an item that strangely resembles a piece of fan art goes live as an official item. While this is admittedly an anticlimactic end, the site's update cadence has declined steadily since 2011. Pet sites inspired by Neopets are finding success in the niche it leaves behind, like Leopets, Flight Rising, and Clanheart. More games are launching all the time, all due to the job.
Okay.
All right, so that's the history of Neopets you never knew you needed, but got.
All right. Oh.
All right, so the Scientology part, because that's very important. So this is something that Donna, one of the creators, answered and said that they did become aware at a point that Scientologists did own part of the Neopets, but because strictly religion and politics were not allowed on Neopets.com, it's not something that they were worried about, but it was kind of run Scientology style. So just you can do research on that on your own. It's interesting, and it's a fun fact that people like to bring up about Neopets a lot. All right, so Neopets also, one thing that they don't have in that video is that it did start out as a site for adults, and so you will see old items like white wine, red wine, some drug paraphernalia, and an old caption contest that's a little concerning. So regarding the lies that Neopets have, they kind of fall into two categories, and they are first breaking the rules of the site for personal gain, and then experimenting with self-expression. So like role-playing in a way you are kind of lying because you're making a new identity. It's not malicious, it's a good lie. I would say the first one's an okay lie too. But yeah, so some lies that we told on Neopets. I used to consistently pretend to be like 21 on Neopets once I started lying about my age. And then when I became 21, I had this weird moment of, this is what I pretended to be at 13. And it was like weird.
Did you not fill out the form to send in back in the boards
I
back
did
in the
fill
day?
out fill it out the first time, but my parents weren't going to do that again for my side accounts. So I just started remaking them. So another lie, pretending to do homework on the computer. Pretending to be poor for food. They changed it so that the Soup Fairy knows how much money you have in your shop till, as we all know, but it used to not be like that, so you used to be able to do, I think you can still put money in trading posts. There's some ways around it. All right, well, another lie. Trading people for votes in beauty contests and networking. Then art theft and unsourced images are a lie on Neopets, both from users and the website itself we have seen. Another lie is when you play cheat, Neopets BS, just straight up the game BS, but with Neopets cards. And then lie number 7, if you type in your password, it comes up as stars. That is not true. Never fall for that. And then the last couple have to do with breaking the terms and conditions. Some things that are explicitly forbidden are romance role-playing, which people did all the time. Not sharing personal information, such as email addresses so that you could talk outside of the site. People did that all the time, but they would send you a warning. And then creating multiple accounts for dailies.
All right, so besides being your run-of-the-mill virtual pet site, Neopets was also the first place that many of us experienced fandom, as many of us were not old enough to go onto LiveJournal and the like back in the day. So due to the customization options and the interaction opportunities combined, it basically created a fandom haven. And while there were other sites around this time, like Guion Online and some other smaller virtual pet sites at the time, what makes it really special is you have to realize that the people that were experiencing fandom on the site were we're talking like 10-year-olds, tweens, young teenagers. So this was the first place that many of us were exposed to this type of thing. So on the site, there were a few methods of user-to-user interaction. First of all, there's NeoMail, which is basically direct messaging. I don't need to go in depth about that. There are also the Neo boards. It's basically a watered-down version of forums. I lived on the FC back in the day, fan club rep. And people would role play on those boards. They would just talk about stuff like it was just anything goes sort of thing. And then there were also guilds, which that was basically a private version of the boards, but they were themed around a particular topic, and you would have to. We don't talk about that. Shush. That was a chat group, not a guild. Calm down. All right. So this is kind of what the boards look like. What I used to do a lot of back in the day is I did a lot of chat play. I was actually a Final Fantasy chat player back in the day. Yeah, I was Kadaj in a Final Fantasy chat group, so there was some Sephiroth self-cess there, but we won't go into that. Ask me after the panel. You don't want to know. And so a big thing that we used to do was chat groups on there, and what that was basically a branded form of board that people would gain membership into, and it was just like a group that would meet and role play or chat and do this, that, and the other thing. I went on, and my old Warrior Cat guild was still there when I was trying to find a screenshot. I was shocked that it was still there. That was my first fandom. So that was kind of what the guilds looked like. People would like code their custom layouts and stuff like that to kind of meet the theme. And then you want to talk about role-playing for a second?
So with role-playing within the site was divided between people who kind of role-played original characters, which were often Neopets, and then characters from other fandoms. So we had people like Michaela who would join a guild to do Warriors or Final Fantasy roleplay. I joined an Ixie-specific guild where it was just a bunch of Ixies in a grove. It was called the Ixie Grove. It was cool. And within that, there were anthro versions of Neopets, so ones that were basically humanized to different varying amounts, and then there were some that were kind of traditional style. And I found, at least as I got older, I moved into more anthro ones because of the complexity of characters and also the changing nature of, I guess, like the site and who I was role-playing with. And this was done through different versions, and it was cool that you essentially got your own site for, I mean, you literally got a pet page for each pet, so that you could then make that reflect the pet's relationships they were in by like linking them to who the pet was like dating or stuff, and like do art customizables. And then Michaela would have entire accounts that they would make.
That were themed around the characters.
Yeah,
so the
like
username
a
would go
Sephiroth
with
account or whatever.
No, I didn't have that, but oh, close enough. I'll give it to you.
All right, that's from my first roleplay ever. We don't need to look through that. This is one of my favorite quotes I found. Yes, please
Can I read it?
this.
Okay. I remember once upon a time I met this girl on Neopets, and we talked for a while, and then asked me to go into a chat room with her on like the WWE website, and she tried to get me to roleplay Neopets effing, and let me tell you, that's my first run-in with furries, and I definitely did not judge her, but I was like 9, and I was like, I lied about my age so I could use the Neo boards. Please don't make me do this. And then she reported me and got my account frozen. Beautiful. Keep going. All right, so another big facet of the site was there were many forms of customization. You could customize your user lookup, guild layout, shops, basically anything that was like a part of your profile. And this gave rise to a lot of graphics and, sites and pet pages and stuff dedicated to distributing graphics and layouts. Now, while this doesn't seem very special, you gotta remember, once again, we're talking about like 10-year-olds and tweens and young teenagers teaching themselves to code and learn Photoshop so they can like distribute graphics and like make them for them and their friends. So it was pretty wild. That's how I self-taught myself Photoshop and some basic HTML and CSS. So
that's my brother's attempt at HTML with his Neopet he named after himself because he was 8. But there were different levels of customization. Those are some more screenshots I dug up.
Yeah, and these were some from my chat play days. I would give them out to people. It was beautiful. I didn't have any screen caps, but here's just some examples of what people would do. I was also in a J-Rock back in the day. Don't judge me too much.
All right, so we're going to do a brief game before we talk about art on Neopets. Oh, we got these. Awesome. So we have these MAGFest monies. That's not what they're actually called. but you can take this to a vendor and it will be like a $1 bill. So we're gonna play a game called Guess That Neopet, and don't yell the answer, raise your hand and we'll yell on you. Okay, I saw you there first. Yes, you're correct. Yay, you can come up and get a prize. Yep.
Come get it.
Come on up.
Come get it.
All right, we've got 2 more for this segment, and then we've got another one. Yeah, sure.
Oh, wait. Yeah, it was a walkie.
All right. Who's that Neopet?
Well, Neopet pet.
You. Yes, you got it.
You good?
All right, congratulations. I couldn't. Oh, yeah, good. I couldn't remember this one's name, and it was like giving me anxiety. I don't know. It was bad. All right, who's that Neopet? Okay, I do want to get somebody in the back. Is there anyone who's not sure just for some drama? Like, raise your hand if you're really not sure what this Neopet is. You gotta pick someone, okay? Well, I can't
No.
do this.
You over there in the black shirt. No. I think he was wrong. What did he say?
Could you repeat that?
Oh.
That's really close. Let's do someone else.
Just make it go quick.
Okay.
Choose somebody.
This is so much pressure. It's like I should be asleep. The person with the Pokemon plushie, Gengar. Yay!
Yay!
Okay.
Come get your $1. All right.
All right, so now I'm gonna show you guys my middle school porn.
It's 2:20.
So one thing that was really appealing about Neopets, I think, for a lot of people was that they were simple to draw and that all ages could kind of do their own style. So people who were into like anime could do them very animified, could do anthro things. If you were younger, you could just draw them from the how to draw tutorials on the site, which were hit or miss. Some of them weren't as great. Also, there was a culture of trading art through the boards and groups and then doing requests so that people could practice drawings and then get gratification from people who weren't in their immediate like social groups at school or their friends. So that was really cool. The beauty contest, looking back, I realized was one of the first times that I had to network as an artist because you were going out trying to get people to vote for your Neopet and vice versa. And yeah, so we're just going down my memory lane. Thank you. So this is my Christmas Zafara. I painted her Christmas in 2003. No, 2. When I was at my aunt's house. It was very special to me. And I worked very hard on that colored pencil drawing, and then my dad told me that it looked like she had to use the bathroom, and I felt very self-conscious, but he was definitely right.
You want me to go on?
And then the second one's MS Paint, obviously, I feel. Yeah. So this one I did as a trade. That somebody did for me as a trade, and then that was my brother's Neopet. So this is just some of the different styles, and it was cool that we were able to share these feelings that we had of excitement for drawing and of Neopets with each other. I clicked on something on accident. All right, so this is where it gets real. So I went into middle school, and I think I was listening to Fall to Pieces by Avril Lavigne while I drew this. I don't know if that was like a connection I made later, but I got the Labre so I could suddenly get cool pets because I couldn't afford like to plan stuff out, but she happened and I said, whoa, this pet's really cool. I'm gonna draw her looking all emo. And then I kept drawing her. I got her a whip. I was like, my Neopet is sexy. I'm 13. Yeah, so then I had a sleepover with my friend. And we were like, oh, your Neopet could be my Neopet's boyfriend. And he said, yeah, my Neopet's gonna be gripping this towel. And I was kind of uncomfortable, but I went with it. And then he just said, hey, what if your Neopet was dating my other Neopet and then cheated on that Neopet with this Neopet? So that happened, and then I had to draw that scene. So these are my Neopets. Thanks. All right. These are my Neopets making love. Unfortunately for Repple, the Dargon Loop, she got pregnant. And that's her not boyfriend coming up to her saying, "I know the baby's mine. I know you haven't told your boyfriend yet. You need to do that." Because we loved making drama. I never finished coloring it because I was full of shame, I guess. I don't know. And I don't have her artwork, but I also connected with a friend in college who had drawn pregnant Neopets, so this is just kind of a thing that was like a universal experience. I'm not sure how, but I was glad to know I was not alone. Also, like in 4th grade, one of my loops had like a kid, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't like this. It was just like weird. Okay, so Neopets over time, I have this theory, which is well supported by evidence, that it got more furry over time, and I'm going to call it the furrification of Neopets. And this is for several reasons. A, being an aging user base. B, increasingly complex backstories for OCs, so things that you just couldn't fit in with quadrupeds. The customization overhaul in the site in 2007 literally let you put wigs and clothes on Neopets, so made it so much easier to make them humanized and gave them like hands. Also, the art style, in addition to customization, shifted over time, and the presentation of these Neopets, they would be standing differently and such. This is also seen through some of the brushes, so as an example, the Yasuki and the Royal paint brushes giving Neopets clothes, and this was before the customization overhaul, so we see these Neopets that are being more human, and then official site art before this also. So one case study is the fruit machine. It used to start off like this. They gave that cow hands. You see those hands? Those are fingers. Those are not hooves. That Aisha got a lot sexier. Something happened. I don't know if they did more marketing research and they decided this is what they needed to continue mining like data from children for advertising, but it's what happened. Captain Three Legs is also somebody who they gave him clothes. Yes, they made him daddy. People were like, Dr. Sloth is daddy, and then they took Captain Three Legs and they said, we'll give you another daddy. Tarla. So Tarla, you do get to see her walking upright a little bit, but mostly in the earlier site images, she's, not wearing clothes. She got really hot. Like, she has hair. She's sultry. She's like, I look at this and I'm like, oh, okay, this is why I drew Neopets the way that I did. This is why I drew them being like horny humans, because the site made it look that way. Anyway, we're gonna play some more Guess That Neopet. I can't pick on people. Michaela, you do this.
All right. Pink shirt right here. Ta-da!
Yes, you can go on and get one.
Yeah.
All right, this next one's kind of hard. Guess That Neopet. Okay, I saw you in the back in the gray sweatshirt. Yes! You got him. All right, and we got one more. I'm going to try and get somebody from this back corner because I don't think we've gotten anybody from there yet, have we?
His hand went up right here.
Who's that Neopet?
Right in the front.
Okay.
He raised his hand.
You do know who it is? It's almost a hissy. You're so close.
Almost a hissy. No, ask him.
I can give you guys a hint. It has to do with a daily. Somebody who hasn't gone before. Yes, it's the Snow Ager! Which the Ice Hissy looks like, but the Snow Ager existed before Hissy, so it's different?
All right, we good?
Okay. Thanks for
All
playing.
right.
Guess That Neopet.
So the games.
Because we are at Music and Gaming Fest.
Because we have to give some gaming rep here. Okay, we all love the games. Unfortunately, a lot of them were Flash, so most of them are very, very hard to play now. Most of them were, as we well know, were actually just reskins of Flash versions of other games. So like Mirka Chase was just Snake and Fairy Bubbles was just Bubble Bobble. There were also games like Cheat, which was just Neopets BS.
And at a point, the site did implement an age restriction because parents were upset that their 8-year-olds were learning how to gamble, which is valid.
So there is a controversy because Neopets has been known to harvest data on its users to sell to advertisers. I mean, consider advert video. It was a daily game that you could play. You would literally just sit and watch an ad for Neopoints every day. There are also other examples of some sponsored games like Spider-Man, Cheese Nips Hunt, Smurfs Daily Challenges, Bridge to Terabithia, Metamere Quiz, Haunting Hour, DVD Trivia, McDonald's Platformer. There were a lot of them. But the sponsored games were removed when Jumpstart bought it in March of 2014, which was good for poor but us poor Neopians missed it because it was an easy source of money. So
Also, speaking of sponsors, I am selling Neopets Pride keychains at my Artist Alley table in 07, I think. Also, raise your hand if you like Fortnite. Oh, this is too much to pick. I can't decide.
Hold it up.
I don't even know how Fortnite works. I can't ask like who people main on Fortnite. Okay, really quick again, raise your hand if you like Fortnite. Okay, you get a Fortnite Neopets bumper sticker. You can also buy one of these at my Artist Alley table. Please put it on your car.
All right.
All right, and I've got a charm to give out too. Who's gay and likes Neopets? This is literally everybody here, I hope.
Just pick one. Person in the black in the middle.
Okay. Michaela pointed to you.
Person in the black in the middle in the aisle.
You get Neopets rainbow paintbrush charm.
Oh no, sorry about that. Hold on.
All right, these are $10. Support my bad hobbies of coming to anime cons, and this is not an anime con. Oh my gosh, the MAGFest 21 Plus group would destroy me if I just called it that. I am so sorry.
Here you go.
Festival.
Show your pride to the world. All right, continue.
All right.
I'm fumbling.
This is what the sponsored games felt like.
Okay, and all
Free stuff.
And of course, all of us remember The Darkest Furry, Fairy, for the PS2. I remember playing it. It was okay. It wasn't a great game, but it was pretty fun. We do have a commercial to show you, though. Let's get out of this for a second. Where is it? Ah!
Aired on TV.
Hi, honey. How was your day?
Oh, you know, same old, same old.
Neopia's biggest adventure has begun. Neopet, the Darkest Fairy. Rated everyone 10 and older.
All right. I can get out of that now. Want me to move on?
Yep.
To the next slide. Cool.
All right, so we're going to talk now about the fall of Neopets, which I think most people would kind of agree it peaked around the time that they switched from customization. I guess that's probably contended, but yeah, so the Neoconomy was one thing that, I'm going off of somebody else's notes here for a second, so bear with me. We had the slide in here because hyperinflation was a big issue with Neopets. Neopoints were generated indefinitely with limited incentive to spend them, so the purchasing power of each Neopoint was lowered to where we had a situation where they became useless. There were several ways to make money, such as playing games, which is what was obvious to the children the site was intended for, dailies, trade, I'd say reselling in the stock market were probably the best ways to do big money making. You can also buy Neopoints off the dark web. You can also buy unconverted Neopets, and some really well-named ones. Yeah, you can buy like a UC Neopet for $40 about. So if any of you guys have access to your old accounts, you can sell that to like pay off your student loans or whatever.
I went.
All right, this is a slide about the neo-bourgeoisie. It's a beautiful graphic made by Sarah. And I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Anyway, see how nobody's in the middle? There is no Neopian middle class. You're either poor or you're Rupert Murdoch. That's how it works. And this is canon. Furry, Rupert Murdoch is here. He owns Neocorp or something. Neopets has several times tried to save their economy. They did a Save the Wheels campaign where you could donate money to save the wheels. They stopped working and people loved their dailies. And Tombola also is a money sink, but in general, aside from things like accounts that they would freeze just through various purges, I don't know how screen share works. Here we go. Yeah. So there would be some random events and then account purges that would take Neopoints out of the economy, but in general, most of the Neopoints were going from user to user. The shops were not charging very much, so that made it harder for newer players to get in if you didn't have older items that were worth a lot of money.
All right. Okay, so what went wrong? A lot of things went wrong. But the two biggest things that went wrong with Neopets, I would say, is first of all, there was a general kidification of the site over time. While it was originally intended for university students, it became more and more kid-oriented. So like later in the game, after Viacom bought Neopets, they really cracked down on the filters and the boards. And when before you could kind of get away with some stuff that was borderline lewd or kind of you couldn't, people became really afraid to talk about anything because you could potentially get your account frozen or suspended. There was also the advent of introducing real money into Neopets. I'm sure many of you remember Neopets Premium when it was introduced, so you could purchase a Neopets Premium membership so you wouldn't see ads. And then when customization options were introduced, in the Neo Mall, you could purchase Neocash for real money to buy backgrounds, clothing, all that sort of cool stuff for your pets. So then you could end up buying real world Neopets stuff with real world money.
So there was a huge issue that a lot of people had feeling like they didn't have, like their pets were being changed against their will because of the conversion that was done in order so that pets could wear these new clothes. Yeah, also these are more issues, filters, restrictions, cutbacks on servers. And in 2015, when it was sold to Jumpstart, as they touched on in the History of Neopets video, the majority of the staff was laid off, which caused not safe for work pets.
Also known as the Neopocalypse.
The Neopocalypse lasted a weekend because they didn't have the proper people to clean up the site. So we're just gonna scroll through some of these, which are from our collective screenshots. And these are all real.
Do you want me to just start clicking? These are pretty self-explanatory.
Can you guys read these in the back? You can? Okay, cool. I love this one because it's like Tumblr, please don't actually interact with this roleplay style, but with a minion and on Neopets, there's just so many layers. Continue. The entire B-movie script. So you weren't allowed to share personal information, including your sexuality on Neopets, so you could get banned or like frozen or warned for this post, which is incredible. But this brave user, Coach Chai, was out here telling it for everybody.
Oh.
Go to church. Yeah. Also some of the names.
Continue. Want me to go again? I'll give it a few seconds of me. All right,
So some other not so great things that happened. Neopets had a giant privacy breach a few years ago, which was why my account got frozen, and that was super uncool, because I was a very good girl when I played on Neopets. I never did anything naughty. Yeah, they leaked a bunch of emails, passwords. It was bad. Also, Neopets just started freezing people for everything. This is a list of things that this person was frozen for. I love Chiagate. Mentioning Garfield the cat.
continue.
If anybody wants these slides, you can email me and I can send them. Last year, I cared a little bit more about my furry art getting out, but I don't care anymore. I have a steady job now, I guess. Also, Neopets has banned people supposedly for saying they are furries, which there are multiple people who have said that this has happened, but I have not personally experienced this. There's some... We don't want him.
Go on.
Customization allows some interesting options. Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. This says Neopets or die trying. This was graffiti found in Canada.
Go on.
Yeah. Just drug stuff. I appreciate this. So, wrapping up this panel, I'm just going to show some examples of Neopets in the real world because Neopets made a lasting image on all of us, for some of us more than others, like Neopets tattoos. I was very sad to see this cover-up of a cow, but there's this beautiful baby cow tattoo to, like, balance it out. I really dig this jelly, Sweet Talks. These are good.
It's so cute.
Different ones. I really want to meet... Does anybody in here have a Neopets tattoo? I'm so sad, but not surprised. I've never met anybody with one, but it would be really cool. Okay. Also, a lot of people have done cosplay for Neopets. So a lot of these have been the fairies or gajinkas and fursuits. So this is a group of people who did this at OhioCon a few years ago, and I saw them, and I thought it was super cool. They had a Neopets meetup, and I said, I should do that. I'm gonna do this with Illison. So then that's me and my Illison cosplay. That's Vega, who I think she had a panel earlier this weekend. I'm not sure. It was on Thursday, and I was not here yet then because I was at work. But yeah, it was fun. It's my friend Katie and as Negfairy. That's another group of people who posted their image on DeviantArt. It was cool. It was very fun cosplaying Neopets. So some of the fursuits are pretty impressive. That's Jareth, right?
No,
Did we ever
it's
Jared?
Jared.
I'm sorry. It's
Wrong
not Jareth the
thing.
Goblin King. It's like a couple of people who have done like multiple fursuits. This is, I believe, the same person. I don't know how the construction of the suit works because it's a quad suit. Sorry. That's just some more. This is like a cursed image. I don't know what's up with this one. I just wanted to share it. Another cursed image. Disassembled loop. Oh wait, I was supposed to give out the keychain at this point. I forgot. Okay.
Sorry, y'all.
Also, a fun thing I did not make, but that you can buy are these Neopets shirts. Say, I love my gay Neopets. They also have I love my lesbian Neopets, and I don't know if they have a buy one. I don't remember.
You should make them and sell them.
They exist though. They're beautiful. But yeah, one thing with Neopets that there's this beautiful article called Getting Gay in the Guild, the LGBT experience on Neopets in the early 2000s that deals a lot with Neopets and fandom culture, and how they also talk about how you weren't allowed to use certain words on the site, like because of the censors, and how a lot of women who found themselves on the LGBT spectrum would have their gender marked as male to make a point. And people use this to experiment with gender. One of my best friends is a trans guy, and he was marked as male on Neopets, for 10 years before he came out to me. And I was like, oh, that makes sense, because you had your gender as male on Neopets all that years. You said it was just because your dad made you do that, so you would feel safer on the internet. He also, I forgot to say this last year, he also met a girl through Hetalia Roleplay on the Neopets forums. And they dated for like 2 years, and she's one of my good friends now. We talk on Twitter about linguistics sometimes. So Neopets brings people together, especially the gays. It's a good time. To read some quotes from this, tons of people choose virtual reality type sites to admit their secrets to the void. Since you never really had a chance to post a photo of yourself, there was an unspoken comfort in the anonymity that could help by hiding behind your character, pet, or icon. I made a shit post when will I be able to free my Neopets from the gender binary? And somebody replied with code to be able to do this, which is super awesome. And yeah, so you can do that with your Neopets, which is beautiful. You can also use the lab ray to make them gender fluid back and forth, male, female, down to level 1 until you quit Neopets again, like what happens every few years for me. Ellison and Jadora are like ex-lovers. There's some stuff going on there. I'm gonna share this Twitter thread, or Tumblr Twitter thread called Neopets Fairies I Was Gay For as a Kid Before I Knew How Gay I Truly Was. Some of my favorites, the Space Fairy. You know how our entire generation has a space kink? Probably her fault. Loki intimidated me, she could beat my ass. Ellison, gay icon, buff lesbian earth fairy wife. Marry me. Soup Fairy helped me out when no one else would, then shut me out when I had money. It's a complicated relationship, but I love her. So one other cool thing to look at if you're nostalgicing for Neopets and have access to some scholarly journals is that there are a lot of articles about advertising in the early 2000s that talk about the immersive advertising because Neopets was pioneering in this. Yeah, they're just fun to look at. Stealing the Age of Innocence, a critique of commodification of children's culture through an analysis of Neopets. Like, it gets really intense. Some of it, though, does talk about the culture of fandom and writing, and it's more positive. But in general, yeah, so we've just gone trip down memory lane. We are post-Neopia. Neopets happened to all of us. It was a good time. It helped me explore, I don't know, it helped me explore something. It's like 3 a.m. It's a lot to process right now. I'm sure we've all been there. But yeah, you can go on. So, I did not draw that. It's a beautiful image I found on DeviantArt. All right, so we have 10 minutes. We're going to do a Q&A. If you want to leave, feel free to head out now. I'm going to leave up our social media so that you can have this to email us if you want to. But if people have questions, probably shout them out. I think that might be the easiest thing.
Not all at the same time.
Not all at the same time, but we'll give a minute for people to filter out because it's late. You're welcome.
All right, start picking.
Thank you. Excuse me? The question is, do we like Garfield? I think I will be banned on Neopets if I mention Garfield,
Very
so
good
I
point.
cannot. I'm Garfield neutral. All right. Christine. All right, so this first question is a statement, which is that Lord Cass is the daddy, I believe. That's true, okay. Oh, the gray paintbrush?
You could answer.
So the question is about, how do I go back? We've actually got one. So the question was about if some of the paintbrushes are kind of tasteless. There is an elderly one, which is really strange. It makes your Neopet wrinkly. I don't know if there's any like discourse over Neopet's paintbrushes. There is the gray one, which makes your Neopet sad, and there
I love
was
the gray paintbrush.
The site had some issues for a bit because people were upset because if your Neopet was sad for too long, then it would change color to blue as a random event. I don't know, I really liked the different colors, and customization was something a lot of people didn't like, but then it let you cross paint so your Neopet could have like the old painted hat and then like the Lost Desert skin. So it was cool. I guess some things like Lost Desert may have gotten kind of into like caricature territory, but I don't have a problem with the paintbrushes really.
He's over here. Raising
Yes. That's a good question. So the question is, what made Neopets a thing as opposed to Gaia? Like for me, So I didn't even hear about Gaia Online until I was probably in 8th grade.
I want to say same.
Yeah, we both
same.
lived in pretty rural areas. Kayla grew up in West Virginia, and I lived in the Shenandoah Valley. So Neopets was just what I had access to. And I probably expanded to DeviantArt, but I think Neopets also, I really enjoyed creating characters, and I loved animals. Like, I played with Beanie Babies and stuff, so to me, it just felt like there was nothing wrong with it. It was where I wanted to stay, I guess, for my source of fandom. But that is interesting, and I know a lot of people did go to other sources.
And for me personally, when I've migrated off the site around 2008, I don't know, the age felt skewed older. So I felt like I was kind of, not that I couldn't make friends with people that were like older than me, but I felt more in my league when I was in Neopets because so many more people were around my age. And it was just a different type of community. I can't really put my finger on it, but there was something special about it. I haven't found that since.
And I would say I also had people I knew on Neopets who I'd met in like 5th grade who I was still talking to in 8th grade. So I just had those people, and it would have been starting over new. Yes, question. So the question is about the economic disparity in the Neopets economy. I am not the expert on this. I would love a thesis on the Neopets economy. I really would. Yeah, this is a problem with lots of like virtual sites though, especially because you have like rare items and hyperinflation. But I feel like not having a sink in the economy was a big issue, and then also like, yeah, because inflation didn't really matter for smaller items, but it became really difficult to get big items. But if you have an answer to that, I would love to hear it. Not now because it's late, but please email me with your like thesis, and I will add it to this panel if I do it again. All right, question here. That's a good question. So the question is if we ever experienced any furry bashing while on Neopets. So I really only role played within my guild, and then some specific people I met, and I don't even think I knew what a furry was until high school.
Same.
So I was drawn because it was just anthro. That's what it was. They weren't furry to me. So maybe when I was older, I may have seen that, but at that point I wasn't active in the boards or anything where I would have seen that.
Same story for me. Green shirt. Oh, shoot.
The question is, what's our favorite game on Neopets? I really like 200-meter peanut dash. I don't know why. Also the McDonald's sponsored game.
I made so many Neo points off the first Magax destroyer. It was ridiculous. I think I actually got on the high scoreboard at one point, but it didn't last very long.
All right. Did you guys play a sandwich game? Oh, the sandwich stacker one? I did not play that.
Why
but
does
I know
that sound familiar?
I can picture it though.
What was that game?
Yes, there was a Lilo and Stitch one. It was a sponsored game. Daniel used to play that all the time.
Oh wait, I went on the Disney site and played that when I was a kid all the time.
Wait, that was on the Disney site. That wasn't Neopets. But you're right. That game is like legendary. It transcends websites from 2000s internet culture. All right, we've got a question back there, black shirt. What happened to the baby? Oh my gosh, I like tried to roleplay that out with my friend, and then we got really involved in this other like roleplay that was kind of a Maximum Ride spinoff that was like, not exactly, I don't know. It was like a little Shape of Watery. There was a fish man. I'm going to ask my friend. I'm going to ask him what happened to Repel's baby.
You can include that in the next
We
panel.
haven't thought about that in a long time. Hakunion got frozen, though. The actual Grey Curie. He stayed unconverted, and then I gave them to my friend who I had roleplayed with, and he traded it for a custom Drake, and then the person who had that UC Grey Curie got their account frozen. So I was really upset about that. So that's what you get for, I don't know, knocking up someone you're not dating in Neopets. Like, I don't know.
That's terrible.
Yes. Altador Cup. Underwoods. I need to look at my site badges because I did a couple different ones.
I don't remember. By that
I know
time,
it-
I was so out of touch. I was
Yeah,
just so far into chat play.
I petered off. I think I did Mariquan a couple times. All right, let's do like 2 more questions and then we can clear out. I see 2 hands. Oh, sorry, I see 3 hands up. Okay, we're gonna go through the 3 hands up that are out now, and then it will be good night. Yes. That's a really cool question. The question is if there is space now for young children to explore identities and their spaces in like capitalism-free areas like Neopets and Gaia. Is that a correct paraphrase? Okay, cool. No, it's super weird because also internet access was something that was so restricted and special when we were navigating these spaces. And now with kids who have like phones and you have this like 24/7 like talking to each other cycle, like I just don't know. I know that what is it? Amiibo? Not Amiibo. There's something that starts with an A.
Oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know what you're talking about.
Yes, Amino. Amino is somewhat of a fandom space that I've seen younger people in, but I don't know. Yeah, and it makes me sad that there aren't places like this. It's rough out there. And also, I feel like now it's like, so if I was posting a piece of art on my DeviantArt, it was probably 5 people I knew in real life that would see that. Whereas if your outlet is your Instagram and you're like
open to the
following like
world.
50 people you know in real life, it's just so much more open. And I do definitely worry for people who are teens and drawing Neopet stuff. Or not Neopet stuff, but just like really anybody with, I think that there's gonna be a lot of things people have to say about how the internet messed up, not just my generation, but like, what is it, Gen Zers? Who are the Tide Pod ones? The Tide Pod generation.
I think it's, yeah.
The Tide Pod generation.
Well, that's all you need to call it.
Yeah. All right, so we had 2 last questions real quick.
I think at this point it would take a total revamp.
I think Neopets is it's just been so many years of them not updating the site, not having it a priority. I
It
feel
would
like
have to be built from the ground up again. Isn't
I
there
don't
that other
know.
project
Yeah, Adam and Donna are working on some other website project as of when Donna did the AMA, which is exciting. But if anybody here works for Neopets, have them hire me and fix the site. Just kidding, I don't want to touch that. All right, one last question real quick. Yes, in the back.
What is one Neopets accomplishment, like an avatar or a high score or something that you always wanted to achieve and were never able to get on the site?
I really wanted a Fairy Ixie. I thought it would be super cool. And that was back when they were only 200,000 Neopoints. And I used to be so mad at myself for not buying one of those. Because I could have had a UC Fairy Ixie because I would have painted Ice the Ix. But that's my misspelled Neopet. It was beautiful.
This is going to sound really sad because I'm pretty sure it was very accessible, but I strove forever to get the Lab Ray. I eventually got it, but it was after I kind of stopped caring and I was like, oh, I get this now. This is great. I wish I would have had this like 2 years ago. All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for sticking it out to the end. Go to sleep. Drink water if you've been drinking alcohol. It's important. Tell your parents you love them if you love them, or tell someone else you love them. Happy Neopetsing for those of you who are still sticking it out.
I love you, Hannah.
Thanks, Michaela. Thank you, everybody.